Alrighty, it's 6:30, so I will call the meeting to order.
Himself and his personal life. Yeah. I don't know what else to say other than it's very hard to actually pay attention and take his class seriously after reading and hearing about some of the things which he's written about, which, well, it's not necessarily a thing that you have to avoid as a teacher, I'm sure. It's definitely weird as a high school teacher.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Harley Watson, and I am also a senior here at PA, and I take Mr. Graziano's film studies class. I feel as though I have a different opinion, and I believe that Mr. Graziano is, it's hard to phrase it right. It is hard to understand the backlash he is currently facing with these published works that were published 10, 20 years ago when he was teaching as a college teacher. And now as teaching a college or a couple college classes in a high school. I am of the belief that everyone has the right to their own words and they are free to publish as they want as per our First Amendment rights. Although that is not freedom to backlash, it should not be causing anyone their job. He still has a life. He has a family. And the line is being blurred between weird and immoral right now, where we are considering things that we would consider taboo to hear as high school students as immoral and illegal. These works are not being taught in class. He sticks to his curriculum, he sticks to his material, and that is it. The only reason why this would ever be an issue is that he has created these or that he has made these if they were being brought into the classroom. And they're not. Sorry. Mr. Graziano has not spoken about things that have been weird or taboo outside of the class. We learned strictly about film and history. And even in the beginning of the year, we were given forms stating that in these movies and in these films, these are films that are more maturely rated. And we are given a list of each of the films, their rating, and for why. And your parents are to sign off on those. So I find it very hard to understand where the criticism is coming from that Mr. Graziano has a life outside of the high school that he teaches at now, when this is all a part of his past. I think it is important for me to mention that all of this resurfaced in my class, where he teaches our film studies class. And the reason why this resurfaced again was because one of my classmates was upset that Mr. Graziano did not wait for him to present with me and another student. This student received the same grade as us, and he did not receive any penalty for being late. It was spread around the student body to then it was posted on Facebook in a completely unprofessional manner when it should have been brought up to adults in administration or the police if they believed that it was serious enough. Being called out online in a forum where anyone is free to speak their mind and go out and then harass this person either in their home, in their town, or in their place of work is completely irresponsible and inappropriate. The only reason they did this was because they were upset about their grade and not being able to present. Like it happens every few years. It always comes out around this time of year. It has come out repeatedly that he has published these works And it is the same sequence of events where he takes time off and he is harassed and he faces public backlash for these works. And then he returns because there is nothing you can do about books being published. And I think that is pretty much everything I need to say on that situation.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Kristen Doyle, Center Road, Pembroke. I'm here for a number of reasons. I am a Pembroke taxpayer, I'm a PA parent, I'm a PA teacher, and I am a colleague of Mr. Graziano. I'm here with a few other colleagues, and we know Mr. Graziano is very highly respected, very highly regarded by the staff of Pembroke Academy. He's actually tonight not here because he is covering the election in Manchester, which is part of the jobs that he holds outside of Pembroke Academy. He writes for an online publication. He's covering the elections in one of the city wards. He is highly regarded as a writer outside of his job here as an English teacher. All of the classes that he teaches here at PA are Running Start courses, so they are all college credit bearing classes. So all the courses that the students take with him, they get college credit if they pass those classes. So all of them are higher level classes for the students if they choose to take those classes. And my daughter is currently a sophomore and she would like to attend college. She's heard some of these stories that students have been saying. She will, and she and I have had this conversation, she will be enrolling in his college comp class as a senior. I want her to be a good writer. And for her to be a good writer and to write at the college level, she needs to take his college composition class. Students who have taken his class and have gone on to college have come back to say that is how they get to be a good writer at the college level, is to be taught by a teacher who teaches writing in a college, and they take his class, they get hard feedback. He is a tough grader. He will make you a better writer. That's the type of teacher that he is. And I'm sure that his English comrades would say the same thing, that he is an excellent teacher. And Pembroke Academy has his back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
I apologize for my tardiness. My name is Pete Mahegan, and I'm here for a couple of reasons. One, because I'm here to support you in what decisions are being made, and I happen to hear that there are decisions on the table. I'm also here as a really grateful French teacher who's happy to stand in the gap for this district when it needs it. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have at any time during this meeting. And I think there's one last thing I want to say as a citizen and as a taxpayer. My taxes went up 8.8%, like yours did. And what that means is you've guaranteed that we will double our taxes again in the next 7 years. And the things that you and I have talked about, Jessica, those are those things we need to look at really, really seriously. And as your state rep, call me or text me or email me at any time. If you don't have my text number is available to you. Send me an email either at my general court address or at my PA SAU53.org address, Peter Mahegan, and we can get together and talk and come up with a strategy about the problems we're having with taxes. I am yours. And I ran so that I could be a part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Thank you. We have a couple more minutes. Anybody else before we move on? There is another public comment section at the end of the meeting too. So I will move on to number 3, agenda review. Go ahead.
Hello. I just was curious as to what we had for non-public tonight, if we could add A, if we don't already have that.
So on the docket, I have A, B, and C necessary for non-public. And that's it for tonight.
Okay. On 5, I'm going to add at the end of that budget committee. And okay,
Just telling you that.
okay, so you don't, do you
I
want it
have
to
nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
just add that to the next agenda? Okay. And then also under 6, immediate business, I just wanted to add a C to do a brief update about a special SAU meeting wide in January.
Could I?
Anybody else?
Could I add a D, just to follow up on school choice strategies?
School
we-
care or
school
school
care,
for-
sorry.
School care.
School care, thank you. School. Yeah, we could do school choice, but that's a longer meeting. So let's do school care instead.
Okay. Anybody else? All set? Number 4, we have minutes from the previous meeting from October 21st. Anybody?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion or edits on the meeting minutes from October 21st? I have just one, and it's really, really silly. I believe it's on the 3rd page, and it says 60 instead of 6 p.m. When it's talking about a meeting in January, SAU wide, it says 60 instead of 6 p.m. I think it's right after my name.
Motion to approve
Yeah.
the minutes as amended.
Motion on the table already, so you can amend your motion.
Yeah.
It's actually what I did really mean. Swear.
And I'll
Oh.
second that.
Thank you. End my motion.
Any other? No? Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes from October 21st, say aye.
I
Opposed? Abstentions? And I'm gonna,
So point of order a little bit. So you voted on the amendment. Now you have to re-vote on the motion as amended.
that's fine. You guys ready to vote on the amended meeting minutes of October 21st, 2025?
Sure.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Nay? Abstentions? Amend it like in the moment, no. Okay. Okay. All right. Going on. Number 5, we have board reports. We'll go to principal's report first, and this time we'll do Pembroke Academy. Mr. Hamilton. I just have one. Um, just thinking in the future. I know I already sent you an email, but we may need to put a couple spots if you want them up there for handicap spots up there, because your only handicap spots are in that circle. So there are a couple parents who are legally going to park in those handicap spots to pick up children with physical disabilities, and we do not have any other spots in this parking lot. So maybe in the future, we might want to take maybe, I don't know if all those office ones or visitors are being used all the time. I don't know if maybe we want to put a handicap one up there. I don't know. Yeah. The flow of the buses. Yeah. Okay. And I know the seniors aren't going to want to lose a spot. I know that's not going to happen, but just those are the only ones. Yeah. Okay. That was my only suggestion. I do love that some of the kids have already started doing it and they're not using the crosswalk in the morning. I will say that. Some of them are doing it ahead of time. Awesome. Anybody else have any questions? No, but thank you very much for going to Deerfield tomorrow. And I think you did a great presentation. So I'm really excited that you're going to go present that. So thank you. All right. Now we'll go over to Miss Gary Hill School. Backwards. Want everybody off.
That's okay. It's what our days are usually like, right? Especially with and down in the younger grades. So we've definitely had a busy month going on. We have a lot of our curriculums. Wit and Wisdom is our literacy curriculum, and the kids all go through modules. So we have 4 modules per year, and they're all really centered around content. And so we had 3 grade levels that we do like either a big celebration or, something connected to the learning. So we had kindergarten went to the capital city for the arts to see Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, which was one of the books they read throughout it. And it was amazing to hear the conversations and the questions they were asking them about like the characters and things like that you don't typically get if you're just going to see Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. So that was awesome. They do a module around the 5 senses. So, sight, sound, things like that. We also had 3 of our teachers perform a tap dance for the kids because they did rap a tap tap. Andra got to be there for that. So they really try to bring those experiences and connect it in different ways to the kids. And every year the staff is doing like a great job of just kind of figuring out how else to kind of expand those different ways of celebrating what they've learned and watching the kids connect it to the real life, not just the books that they're reading. In first grade, they just finished their modules called A World of Books, and everything builds from kinder all the way to 4th, all connects. So at the end of K last year, they learned about the 7 continents. And then in first grade, they start off with A World of Books. So it's really looking at the vital role that books and libraries play around the world. And they read different stories that go with this. And then they did a walking field trip to the town library. And they pass a little free library on the way that every class donates a book to. And so that's something that they really get a chance to enjoy. 4th grade just finished theirs, which was The Great Heart, where they focus on literal heart. They learn about the circulatory system, and they also focus on figurative heart, what it means to have a good heart. And they do a really big celebration where they have them in centers or stations, and they actually get to witness a dissection of a pig heart with parent permission. Very, very popular. So it's something that is the kids they're talking about it. And they're doing a drive for pet donations because they read a book called Love That Dog and pet food as well. And then they donate it. So they're really looking at ways to kind of connect the community and starting to build that. And then 3rd grade also just finished one, and they had a squid dissection. Seems to be popular. They love it, but they're so excited about seeing these things and the vocabulary they have, and they're invested in the content, which makes them even that much more excited to go into kind of the next modules and reflect on that. So lots of things have been happening as we end, and our modules pretty much all end roughly around the same time. A couple other things, our fruit and veggie program started this week. That was something that came out through the school breakfast program, National School Lunch Program. Every classroom now gets a bowl of fresh fruit or veggies delivered to their room in the morning, and it's meant for snacks. So I know they had, it was bananas today, and then on Monday, and clementines on Monday. So it just gives the kids a chance. We're promoting healthy snacking. It's in their classrooms, which they're always, they like to snack. But they also get to try different things that they don't always get to. I think last year kiwi was like a huge hit. They were down in some kiwi. So they loved it. And the things that you don't always think that they would like are some of the ones they wind up gravitating towards. So we're really excited to have that back this year. And like I said, first weekend, so hopefully the kids will get to try lots of other fun, healthy snacks. And then we have successfully implemented, I know lots of talk about parking lots, but we have really solidified and cemented our new drop-off and arrival and dismissal procedures. They're going really, really well. I just want to shout out the parents have been phenomenal helping support that, following through the new procedures, being patient with us because it took us a little bit longer when we first started. But everybody has been really supportive of that. Staff has been amazing. They come out every morning. I get there and they've set up the cones because they want to support everything, stuff like that. So it really has just been everybody coming together to kind of support the safety of our building. And I think that's kind of pretty much what's going on at Hill School.
Thank you. Any questions?
Wendy, can you just tell us what these new procedures are?
Yes, I can. Can I real quick? I did want to add Miss Murphy got to go home today. So I do have permission. I will put something out to the community as well with her permission, just as a quick update, but she did get to go home today. So long road ahead of her, but she is home. She is healing. And I will be sending something out to the community tomorrow. So the procedures are pretty detailed. We have, when you first come down as a parent, I think the easiest thing is for me to take you through a perspective of a parent. We have identified where the parent pickup line starts, and it's more up the hill. So they used to come all the way down to the front of the building. We've stopped them up for a couple of reasons. One is I can control the flow of traffic on our, a little bit better, but also if emergency vehicles have to get through, I can ensure that they can get through. If I have to turn people around, I can turn everybody around that way. So those were the 3 reasons that we did that. We have one staff member up where the line starts, and then typically that's Miss Lacasse. I'm at the very front of everything. And then we have 5 staff members that are positioned on facilities put a line for us on the sidewalk. We all have our vests on, so you'll see us out there with our vests. And then it's pretty much a very structured. In the morning, we bring 5 cars in. So we have the lead person send 5 cars in. I stop them. Each car, we require each driver to look us in the eye, give us a thumbs up. So we verify that you have put the car in park. We have the person in position 1 who says essentially, car 1 is in park, car 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm monitoring all this, or whoever's in my position right now. It's mostly me, but we are training everybody to do it. Once we have confirmation that all 5 cars are in park, everybody then approaches the vehicles, lets the kids out. The kids have been trained immediately to the line and walk the line. They like walking on a line. It was very fun. So there was really no training with the line. It was natural for them. And so once all the kids are on the line and staff is backed away with the visibility of the vests, I can then manage or whoever's in my position, and we send them all forward. In the afternoon, it's very similar, but we bring 5 cars in on one row and another 5 on the other row. And then we kind of repeat the same thing, but they have to verify that both cars are in park. We get confirmation that all 10 cars are in park. And then we let the students are basically lined up I call it like loading a roller coaster. They have dots on the floor in the gym. There's a purple lane and a red lane, and we've done this for years. So you got purple 1 through 5 and purple 6 through 10, and we call them out. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes, but what's made it really, in my mind, standing back and really observing it, I can see everything. I can stop everything. We release the kids when we've confirmed that we have the control over that. So I think as a staff, we definitely see the difference. It went a little bit slower, but we've definitely started to, I think it's with everybody knowing the routine. And then anytime I can, I grab staff members and we cross train. So I'll have somebody standing next to me, someone will be next to Miss Lacasse. There's different roles that we have to play. So we put all that in place. Facilities has also provided us with brand new cones for the outside for the morning. And then we have some permanent signage that's going to go up that indicates where the parent pickup drop off starts the line. Couple cars, signs that require them put your car in park, because we will not approach a car and I will not let anybody approach a car until it's in park. And then just another slow sign to remember, because oftentimes people get going down the hill pretty fast, and so we want to slow everybody down. So it's worked really, really well. And like I said, we're trying to get as many people cross-trained to do it as possible.
Thank you. I know that was a lot, but I think everybody wanted to hear it. So thank you very much.
Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to Three Rivers, Ms. Gagné. We've had a very busy past month. So kind of lots of activities to kind of recap for you and talk about some things that we have kind of in the works as well as upcoming events. So we did have our fall relays event, which is amazing. Thank you to PA for allowing us to use their field and facilities. The facilities crew as well helps us kind of make sure everything's ready to go when we need it. But we did have, a winning homeroom from each grade level. So the kids were pretty stoked when they heard their homeroom get called as first. It's a big talking point for the kids after that day. We had Spirit Week leading up to Halloween. So that's kind of our way of managing, I think, the excitement of that week and leading up to a big event. The big event of trick or treating that night. So we did Spirit Week, and I think it was kind of one of our biggest participatory weeks, probably because we ended with Halloween. But it was a great week to see kids engaging in our different daily themes. We also ended, so Halloween, we ended up having one of our Panther Pride assemblies. So that was really nice to have the kids pretty jazzed for that morning. But that is our second assembly that we've had so far this school year. We have one the last Friday of every month to recognize those students from each grade level that have really embodied our 4 core values. So each grade level we choose some kiddos to recognize in front of the whole school. So it was really great way to end October and on Halloween, and kind of got the kids ready. We have more athletic news. I'm not sure if we've had a fall season as successful as the one we just finished. So to piggyback on our cross country success, our soccer teams also did amazing. Our boys made it to the semifinals game, unfortunately lost. And then our girls made it all the way to the championship. They took home the Southeast League championship and had an undefeated season. So we were very proud of our girls team and how hard they worked over the course of the season. We have some kiddos and some staff that are really thinking outside of the box as far as some activities to do after school. So we do have a couple brand new clubs that they really student led and staff kind of jumped on board with them as well. But we have our strategic gaming club. So they stay after school 2 days a week. And it's all the different card games that are kind of big right now. So no technology, which is pretty cool. But magic cards, Pokemon, like all those different types of strategic games. And it's really cool to see these kiddos having a great time after school in the library, trying their hand at winning against who they're playing with. We have a chess club that actually started towards the end of last year, but has continued. So we have several students and a couple staff members that are really motivated to learn and practice their chess skills. And then also started last year, but continuing into this year, we have our environmental club. So they're going strong as well. And just another outside of the box type of club for kids to engage in that's not physically oriented. And that's student led. So it's really nice to see that. Several upcoming events. Our basketball season kicks off on the 10th with tryouts. We have a dodgeball tournament on the 13th. And then we head straight into beginning of December is progress reports and our parent teacher conferences that first Thursday in December. Any questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much. All right, we will move on to facilities report.
Good evening. Those are some tough reports to follow. Those principals have a lot going on in their buildings, and they're doing a fantastic job managing it, overseeing it, and being a part of it. So truly, those are tough reports to follow. Great job. Here at Pembroke Academy over the last month, we received a new camera server for our camera system to get us into the next millennial, for lack of better words. All of our roof jobs I came to you for last month with have been completed. There was a little bit of an upcharge specifically for the Grange building. I talked about you don't know what you're going to find underneath it. So we did add plywood to the entire roof on the Grange building. That was a slight upcharge. So all in for those 5 roofs, we were at $32,670. The do not exceed for that, just to say it again, was $40,500. All gas boilers in the buildings are up and running and operational. All are going good. And specifically here at PA, my crew's pretty eager to get the wood chip boiler fired up. That's kind of their bread and butter. And that'll happen sometime at the end of this month or into December. We need the temps to drop a little bit more to be able to maintain that fire. And that wood chip boiler heats the majority of Pembroke Academy and the majority of Three Rivers, just to enlighten everybody. And then lastly, over the last month, we had some more pinning and pointing and some masonry work done to the Haley building. And we're at the point we're going to do a little bit of that on all our buildings every year and try and keep them operational.
Much.
Thank you.
The Grange roof looks awesome. I saw it driving by when it was getting done.
Other than that, you wouldn't know it was done.
I know. It was quick.
It was.
It was very, very quick. Any questions, comments for Mr. Coughlin? Okay. All right. Next we have student report, but we don't have Hunter tonight. Exec board report.
Okay. The exec board met on October 22nd. We did have a public hearing on the SAU budget. We did have a few comments and questions from the public. Then we moved into the budget discussion amongst the board members. We also discussed adequacy aid and, or should I say lack thereof. We also talked about school care and the impact it's going to have on the SAU and the districts themselves. And then we also, the budget passed and for the SAU, the budget passed for the SAU amongst the full board members that were in attendance. And then we went into an AREA meeting and we discussed enrollment updates. And then, as most of you know, Mr. Hamilton did a amazing job on a presentation about PA that I'm hoping we can share with the masses. And that's about it. Our next meeting is next Wednesday, the 12th. Okay. That's all.
Thank you. Superintendent report.
All right, I will try and keep this brief because it's all in your drive. But included in the report, you'll see updates from each of the kind of departments up at the SAU. So IT really has been working on increasing our risk mitigation with student and staff data, so that's sensitive data. Student services, Dr. Hall's been spending a lot of her time working with the building coordinators to prep budgets and get a good handle on where special education and student services are throughout the SAU. Our curriculum coordinator has done a lot of stuff over the last month. She's put that all in there, but it kind of just speaks to the stuff that we were talking about with the full SAU board of the broad scope of things we have our curriculum director doing. And she's really stretched out thin. So this just is a good example of all the types of things that she's doing. She's continuing to help our curriculum work within all of our districts. She is working on helping to facilitate that frontline payroll time management system that we are shifting to. And she's working on some of the communication and data transparency throughout the SAU with testing scores, art show work, helping put together our beginning of year reporting for the Department of Ed. So a lot of different things that she's been busy working on. And our business office has been very busy. Obviously, you know, we have all the audits that are going on. We've had auditors in the building last week, and they will be in and out over the next month. Amber's been very, very busy working on getting all the budgets prepped for all the 5 towns, helping with that frontline management that I just talked about. Contract negotiations are happening in a couple of our towns, so that's been a busy piece. And then we are currently out to bid for our transportation contracts. And we did something new this year. Amber thought it might be a good idea, and I agreed that we split the RFPs out into 5 different RFPs or 4 different RFPs, thank you, and instead of one big one, to see if we could shake it up and maybe get different responses. And we've gotten different responses. So I'm hoping it will pay off, and that window's almost closed. So in the next few weeks, we'll have some more information regarding our transportation RFP that the boards will have to make some decisions on coming up. So lots of good stuff.
Much.
I'll throw in.
Go ahead. We'll do budget committee real quick if you have
I'll
anything.
throw in, budget committee will start meeting regularly on Thursday, November 6th. We should be meeting weekly, pretty much weekly from here on through February. And meeting on Thursday is at the town hall at 6:30. Let me just double check that.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure it's at that.
It is. I thought they sometimes started earlier than 6:30.
Oh,
Yeah,
6th,
6th.
I'm sorry, 6th. Yes, it is 6th.
All right. Move on to immediate business and 26, 27 budget presentation from Ms. Wheeler and Ms. Hall.
All right.
Yep.
So you have some documents in front of you. Normally I try to do a budget packet all in one booklet, but it's 112 pages worth of information. So I had to break it up because our copier doesn't do that. So you're going to have 3 sheets from me anyway. You're going to have a budget summary that's in a booklet. And then you'll have a staple copy, which is strictly the Pembroke budget. And then the booklet that looks like this is all the additional documentation that backs up the budget information. This year, as each year, I try to do things a little bit different, try to create some different information, present it a little bit different, to try to gauge and summarize so that the information we're providing is clear, or clearer, I hope. So this year I've done it a little bit differently than I've done in the past. Last year, as you'll probably remember if you were here, I've always given the summaries, but I broke it out a little bit differently. I addressed specific lines, page numbers, and so forth. Just by looking around and gauging the individuals around the table, I think it's overwhelming because it's a lot of information to absorb. You're trying to listen to what I'm saying, trying to figure out where I'm talking about in the budget. I decided this year to do it a little bit differently. I wish I had done this for the SAU budget, but I didn't think about it till afterwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to capture and give a summary of some key factors, and then I'm going to give a summary of each count functions, meaning the 1100s, the 1200s, and so forth. And then I've also given some data points and so forth and charts that we can also go over. One of the things I want to mention, and it's always one of those things, which is one of the reasons why we broke up doing the principal's budget and then the full budget, is because the first thing everybody wants to do is go to the end of the budget and look to see how much has this budget increased. So we tried to break away from that so that we are really getting an understanding of what is in the budget and the why, because the why is really important so that we can stand behind, you know, what we're saying and what we're voting on during the meetings. One of the things I want to mention is at the very top of this budget summary, I've kind of given you an overview of that bottom line. And I broke it out a couple different ways. And the reason why is because when you do flip to the end of the budget, it looks like the budget is down by 116,000. It is not. And the reason being is because there are currently no warrant articles. Hello? There we go. There are no warrant articles currently budgeted within the FY 26-27 because those do not get added until after the budget has been voted on at the annual meeting. So that number will change if and when there are any warrant articles that are added to the budget. But for now, those have been redacted. So the actual increase of the overall 26-27 budget is 1,338,342, not the negative 116. I just wanted to point that out, which is approximately a 3% increase. All right. If I go too fast, slow me down, okay? Because I'm tired and I'm a fast talker. So I just wanted to go over some of the major expenditure areas first. So instruction and special education, those areas are, really what's in the classroom and then tending to the needs of our special ed students. So those areas are covering the instructional supplies, special education programs, and then the support services that our students need. We've had some modest increases in areas like music and reading and physical education, mostly due to cost of inflation. But then we've also have decreased some of those lines throughout the last couple years to try to make some cuts and have utilized trust funds and things like that to cover those. At some point, we have to bring it back to the budget. So some of those items have been included. For special ed programming, there's been some adjustments that have been made, and those are strictly reflecting the shift in student needs, whether it's up or down in a particular area. We are seeing some reductions, which is nice, which we can go over some of those in a little bit. The personnel cost, our insurance, as I talked about at the SAU meeting, we've talked about the school care and what we're anticipating. And as of right now, we don't have the rates for next year. We usually receive those around November 8th to 10th, somewhere around there. I have heard some scuttle that it's looking to be an increase between 12 to 15%. I have put in what I'm hoping to be the maximum risks at this point in the hopes that we can lower the budget moving forward. So if I have estimated for 15% increase in health insurance. Now, you're not going to take the current and multiply it by 15% to get the increase because it also includes plan changes and personnel changes. I've included 5% increase for dental insurance. I've not heard anything at this point on what the increase for that is. It tends to be between 3 to 5%. So I've budgeted 5% in hopes to again bring that down in the upcoming presentations. The wages and salaries, the adjustments you're going to see are going to be in regards to the CBAs and any market adjustments or increases that were approved in last year's budget. We have not included any increases for those that are not covered by a collective bargaining agreement in this proposal yet. That will come forth hopefully by the next meeting. For facilities and operations, the utilities are pretty much stable. There's some minor adjustments between 2,000 to 3,000 between natural gas, electricity, and heating, but they are starting to stabilize, which is nice. The liability insurance, I've seen that go up the last several years. I wouldn't say substantially, but it's gone up minimally here and there. This upcoming year, it's going up substantially. For all districts, not just Pembroke, but their rates have increased, and Pembroke's seeing a $42,000 district-wide rise. Some of that is in the nature of just insurance increases. Some of it is some of the things we brought onto our in our buildings, on our facility lots, and so forth. some of the claims that have come through, all of those play a part. For maintenance and repairs, we just have, as Josh has mentioned, routine building and equipment. We're continuing to keep those updated so that our buildings stay safe and secure. And just some small inflationary increases for those. Transportation. Right now, as Jess mentioned, we are currently out to bid for regular ed transportation. We still are in the middle of a contract for special ed, so that isn't up yet. I originally had the responses due by the 7th. We have extended it to the 14th. The reason being is because we have had interest. I've had 17 questions that I've had to answer, which is great. So we have had some interest, and a couple of the vendors that reach out asked if we were going to extend it. Originally, I said no, because we need to get these budgets done. But we thought, all right, let's see if we can give them a week in hopes that we don't deter anybody from submitting a proposal. So they seem very thankful in regards to that. Any questions that they have posed, I have written up, including my responses, and have added them to the website. So any vendor that is looking to see what anyone else has asked, it has been included so that everybody gets the exact same information. So that's under the RFPs on the SAU website. So I have included a 8% increase in student transportation for regular ed. When I look back at the last couple contracts we've had, it's been between 6 to 10. So I kind of went in the middle. I've also included McKinney-Vento is in there. There's $175,000 that is budgeted for McKinney-Vento students, so which is included in regular ed, not special ed. For other support services, workers' comp has increased a little bit. I will say that in your budget, there will be a modification in the next presentation. When I do my budget summaries, I do them after the budget packet has already been done because I've got so many to get done in a short period of time. So when I was doing my budget summary and I was going through ticking and tying all my numbers, I noticed that the workers' comp amount that I had inputted into our software was not correct. And so we will actually be reducing that line by $17,930. I have no idea where I got the number. That is in the actual budget, but it does not relate to any of the documents that I have. So I must have overridden it somehow. For capital projects and reserve transfers, this is what I was talking about at the beginning, is that there's $495,000 budgeted in FY 25-26. That is for the track. That's a one-time expense. So you'll see a zero in that line. That's going to be towards the end of the budget under site improvements. All of the approved warrant articles, again, will not be added until after the town has approved them at the annual meeting. For food service, we're looking to decrease that by $27,957. This is reflective of updated participation projection, and we're really monitoring our food spending and offering some different things to try to bring in some additional revenue. We have, as Wendy had mentioned, we do have fresh fruit and vegetables this year, which is great. I do not budget that each year because we don't know whether we're going to get it or not. So I don't want to add revenue that we may not receive, or expenses to the budget we may not receive. But we do, that is fully funded. So whatever we spend, we do get back. So the key takeaways of our operating budget is basically that we are maintaining the most program levels with minimal increases. The biggest increases are the insurance, transportation, and health-related cost. Again, capital expenditures will not be added until later. And then we just continue to hope to support, the investments in special education, student support, and to continue keeping our buildings up to par so that we don't run into any facility issues that create a large expense all at one time. That's kind of an overview. Now I'm just going to give you a brief summary of each of the sections because I think it's really important to know what's included in each of these and what the drivers are of any changes that are occurring in that subsection. So in the 1100s, which is your instructional regular programs, there's an increase of 265,267. This increase reflects the teacher CBA, and then there are some added classroom materials and then just some instructional materials for K through 12. The building, when you met with the principals at the last meeting, they really went over the majority of that's what's in that section. The only items I entered in for the 1100 would be your salary and then consulting services for like ELL. For your 1200, that's your special education. That is an increase of 253,147. This increase is driven again by CBA for both teacher and support staff. The in-district program needs and therapy cost. The great news is that out-of-district tuition and summer placements have declined, which has been able to offset some of these increases that we're seeing in special education. And Andra will go through, some of those specific information after I've given the presentation. The 1300s, which is your vocational education and specialty programs, that's up by 178,518. Again, that's strictly due to CBA for your teachers. And then we're also estimating a 10% increase in vocational tuition. We have not received the tuition yet for CRTC, so I'm still waiting on that. So as soon as I get that, I'll make sure to update the proposal. For your 1400s, which is your co-curricular and athletics, that is up minimally at 4,676. And really the increases for that is just the athletic salary. That is not an increase for next year, meaning we're giving this person an increase. It is an increase that was already approved by the school board the last fiscal year. But as we've talked about in many years, we pool all of our proposed increases at the end of the budget, and then once it's expended, it goes in the actual line in which it is related to. And then there's some contracted services that went up a little bit as well. For your 2100, that's your guidance, your counseling, your testing, your nursing. That's decreased by 14,744, and that's mostly due to personnel change. And then they've added a few dollars for some testing materials, some supplies. Your 2200s are your improvement of instruction and staff development. There's an increase of 2,146. Again, that is included your CBA increases, any ongoing professional development, and the curriculum work that happens throughout our district. 2300s, that's the school board and SAU services. That's going to increase by 82,427. This includes our audit, our actuary services, our attorney, and the SAU services. The Pembroke District's assessment is 37.6. You'll be able to find that breakout in the other packet that is in the form of a book. And then the increase for SAU services was 58,900. In this section, there will also be a change in the next presentation. As I was going through all of the districts, you may remember me talking about last year, I was trying to bring all of the district school treasurers a little more in line. There were some receiving 1,000, some receiving 2,000, some 4,000. So I was trying to bring them more in line with each other. And when Pembroke fixed that in this current year, fiscal year, but when I was doing the budget, I added an additional $2,000 and I need to take that back out. So I will be reducing line 546 by $2,000 for the next presentation. In section 2400 is your district administration, and that's increased by 62,969. This includes the market adjustment and salary increases that were again voted the last fiscal year, last budget session. And then there's also been an increase in the bulk software that's billed out to the districts. So what I mean by that is our IT director at the SAU, we bulk shop a lot of our software for our SAU wide. And then we bill it out to the districts per utilization per school. So this allows us to bring down the cost for several of our software programs, and the districts are only billed for what they actually use. So that's where that lives when we've talked about that at the SAU level, at the SAU board meetings. That is the area in which that lives, the 2400s. 2600, which is your operations and maintenance. There's an increase of $127,028. This essentially operationally is flat. Again, our energy has stayed stable. Really, the increased driver is that's where that liability insurance is funded from. So that is a substantial increase with that. And then there's also some proposed maintenance projects. So our facilities department and Josh is looking to add some cabinets, sound barrier systems, exterior doors at the Hill School, camera servers, again, sound barrier system, bleachers and countertops at Three Rivers. And then at PA, he has some abatements, more countertops, some masonry, and then some heating controls. So those are the types of projects he's looking to complete for next year. 2700 is your transportation. There's an increase of 285,035. Again, that is where we're estimating the 8% for bus contracts. So that could come down. We're hoping it comes down. But that also includes, again, the McKinney-Vento transportation. And then we have slightly higher special ed transportation cost. $2,900, that's your benefits. That's your health, dental, all of your fringe benefits. This is also the section in which those proposed salary increases live. Again, nothing has been budgeted in this section yet. That will be presented for you hopefully at the next budget meeting. But that is the area in which that will be presented. Again, we are estimating a 15% health insurance increase, 5% for dental. And then there will be, this section will see a reduction of 17,930 for that change I mentioned earlier in regards to line 783. The 4,200, the site improvement, I spoke about this earlier as well. This is the track, the 495,000. We haven't budgeted anything for 26, 27 because that is a one-time expense. Your 4,600, those are your capital reserve and expendable trust funds. Those will be added at a later date should any be approved at the annual meeting. 4,900, this is our leases. And we've been able to see a decrease of 240,217. And that's partly due to one of the leases we had, we fully paid out July 25. So this July we paid out partially. So we only have one more lease that we are, that is in our books. I believe I have it in our packet, the schedule for that in the other booklet. The 5,221, that's our food service. I'm proposing a 10%, proposing to budget 10,000, which is flat. This really covers anything that cannot be covered by the school lunch program, such as uncollected debt. The food service program does have surplus in their unassigned fund balance, which they have had over the last several years. We do utilize that to also offset any increases that we see from year to year, and which has been nice. So any increases that we've seen in the food service program for expenses, we've been able to cover with that fund balance. The 521, 52, 51, 52, 52, that's our transfer to capital reserve. Again, those will be added once after the annual meeting, should anything be approved. For the 5400 and 5401, that's our grant and food service. So we need to make sure that we budget for total appropriation. So these two expenses are outside of Fund 1, which is our operating expenses. We are budgeting for the total amount we believe we're going to receive in grants and how much we're going to spend, as well as for the total amount that our food service program would cost. So we are seeing a reduction of 24,482, and that's mainly due to, again, we're trying to reduce our food cost, as well as I believe we're going to see a little bit less in grant. So I know that was a lot. I've tried to break out in some different ways what all of that looks like, financially. So I've created a chart right below that, it's the budget drivers, to kind of show you what areas of the budget are the increases. The 53%, the negative 53, that is the warrant articles. So our budget isn't down 53%. That is strictly the warrant articles. And that's because the warrant articles were like $1.1 million. So some of the larger increases the budget has, vocational programs is up 8%, special education up 14%, our benefits are up 2%. And then the building operations and overhead, which is pretty much everything else that's encompassed in the budget, is up 23%, or takes up 23% of the budget. On the following page, I provided this same chart last year, and I received a lot of good feedback, so I thought I'd include it again. And it basically just breaks out what your proposed budget is per program and what each of areas represent in a percentage, as well as what the percentage changes. Below that, I've given you a summary of areas of savings. So some of the areas we have in savings currently, now this will change if we have any additional warrant articles, the capital trusts and transfers. That first one, that 495, that will be, we're not going to see that again because it's a one-time expense. For special education placements, there is a decrease in that particular subsection of 108,000. For summer placements, 22,000. We've been able to reduce our instructional supplies by 8,000. Software licensing has gone down 3,000. Furniture replacement, which is usually one-time expenses, has gone down by 12,000. And then there was some items that were budgeted for infrastructure and IT. That's gone down by almost 22,000 because, again, those are one-time expenses. So in this, you'll be able to go line by line. I think you're going to see when you're going through there, there's not, a substantial changes other than what we've already, just what we've just spoken about. In your other document that looks like this booklet, we provided you with the co-curricular breakdown. I've also provided you with the district's assessment breakdown. The bond lease agreement, it's technically a lease agreement, that is in here on page 14 and 15. We are still paying off on page 14. The one that's been paid off is the one that's on page 15. Okay, so we're still paying off page 14. We still have that till 2035. The other items that's located in this packet are all of your budget rosters. And then you also have towards the end, which is on page 34, your food service budget. So you get to see what that looks like. I've also included in here your surplus and tax rate history. Pembroke was the first district in our SAU to get their tax rate set. And then I've also included your year-end report for it should say 24-25 at the top of that, not 25-26. So I need to modify that. Page 42. So that should say 2024, 2025. not 25, 26. That's what happens when you're working in 3 fiscal years. I will modify that. And then I also included, just kind of a document on what is a fund balance, what does it mean, and so forth. And then I also included for you your trust fund balances at the very end. Any questions?
I just would like you to repeat the tax rate setting thing one more time, please.
That Pembroke was the first one to get their tax rate set?
Thank you.
Yes.
all I needed.
I actually still have 2 districts that have not been set, and 1 district was set today, not because of us, but the towns are just delayed. You're most welcome.
Can I jump in? We ready to go? Okay. I don't need her to say that one more time. I got it. The first is just a compliment. I've been looking for something like this, and I want to thank you for doing it. I know it probably was a lot of work for the staff. I think this will help the board communicate to the town and to the taxpayers a lot more clearly and cleanly, rather than looking at various lines in a spreadsheet. That's a little bit difficult. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I kept you in mind when I was
Thank
creating
you
it.
for-
I actually said that to Jess.
Really appreciate that. Thank you.
I said, I hope this is what Ken's looking for.
Thank you. Can I ask on page 4 to page 5? So just I'm a sucker for a good visual, but
Yes, please.
the pie chart versus the table on page 5. And I get what the budget drivers are, but I'm wondering, where are we seeing in the visual on page 4 the regular programming for it?
So these 2 charts do not correlate to each other specifically because I pulled out specific things
Okay.
in regards to these drivers that were, so like for the vocational program, I pulled out the vocational tuition. So there are some things that are a little bit off.
Okay.
Because there are certain things that are the specific drivers where the chart that's on page 5 are all the the percentages and changes, not necessarily a driver that I wanted to capture in a visual. But if that's confusing, I definitely want to make sure to change.
I don't know that it is confusing. I think that explanation takes care of it. It just was a question that I had.
Sure.
Can I ask another? Sorry, I'm just going to run through in my head, and I'm sure I'll think of others later. But you mentioned operations and maintenance. We're looking at that operationally flat, which is to say that we're just kind of doing the same thing, just covering general expense increases. I have questions about the stable energy. How confident are we on that?
I'm actually pretty confident. And the reason why I say stable energy is because what we've been budgeting, it's actually been coming in a little bit less.
Okay.
And we also have an energy contract that we have for a multi-year. So I do feel pretty confident in that. And I know Josh also looks that over as well. So certainly if he sees that it's out of line, he will make sure to put me right in line.
That's great. Thank you.
So for the energy contract, you know where we are. How long is that contract? And what year, approximately what year we're in?
We would be in year 2, I believe, and those contracts usually go for 3 years.
And so what we do, we work with a third-party vendor for that, and they go out and shop energy rates for us. We've been working with this vendor for the entire time I've been here, actually. Josh and I both work together on this. So when we receive the rates in, Josh and I review them and then decide whether we, agree with them or not, and then lock them in so that we're not seeing huge increases, huge spikes. Josh has also done a fantastic job of, doing energy savings with LED lighting and things like that. So some of those things, we also have some other things that, shutting down computers and things like that, once people leave the building, less energy is consumed.
Question. I know it's not a contract CBA year, but there's still a plan to shop vendors and
We
go to
cur-
bid
Yes,
for
we
health
currently,
insurance.
are looking at several other vendors at this time. We haven't received any information. Well, there's a lot of information that we have to pull for them to then give us a
Okay.
rate. So we are in the process of doing that, and they'll be submitting proposals, hopefully, once they've seen our data, and hopefully they're willing to give us something.
Okay.
But we absolutely have reached out to several vendors, and we'll be looking to see what's available for our districts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
While you guys are stewing, I'll have Andra, if you want to touch base on the 2 spreadsheets that we put in the drive today and that are printed off for you guys tonight.
So the first spreadsheet is this 2-pager. Or do you want me to start with that one? Okay. So it's this 2-pager that has all the blocks in it. I do have to say that I started in with Pembroke's budget, and that has made all my other budgets easy because dealing with 3 school districts and figuring out how kids move around was a little confusing. Luckily, I had just to bounce everything off of, but so what is reflected here is the broken up the teacher salary lines, the special ed aid lines. Those things are out of our control. Those are related to the CBAs. Summer programs were stayed pretty consistent. All of the schools worked really hard to build programming specifically around student needs. So we had a lot of movement over the summer, which is somewhat reflected in the summer transportation because there was a lot more transportation, but it was truly based on summer programming was based on student need, which is where we should be. There was some in contracted services, there was some increases and some decreases. I'd like to point out that at Hill School, there was an increase in contracted services, but this is due to the fact that they have 0 out-of-district placements, which is something to celebrate. So, because they have built programming in-house that is meeting the needs of the students. That is something to celebrate, but you will see an increase in costs in contracted services because we're meeting those needs in-house now. So special ed placements special placements, there is a number in Hill School, which includes our preschool, it includes our preschool program. So that's where those numbers come from. Summer placements, that is reflective of our out of district placements. Special education transportation went up in many cases. The cost of transportation is not controlled through a rate setting process. So it is sometimes the cost of transportation can be pretty high and significant, sometimes almost as high or higher than it costs to educate the child for a day. So something to keep in mind as we go through and advocate for what our students need. Same thing with the summer special education transportation. That did go up slightly due to the amount of transportation that we were doing during ESY, and then also some of our out-of-district placements. McKinney-Vento also went up slightly. So this is the thing with when you're following kids through the schools, when they move from Hill School to Three Rivers School, Three Rivers budget is going to go up and Hill School is going to go down. So it was making all of those movements throughout the different schools. In ESOL services, those numbers are based on our 10-1 count and our caseloads. So And then the other sheet is
Dr. Hall, before you go on real quick, can I go back to contracted services real quick? And just, can you explain, in the chart, you have percentages next to these positions. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so the percentages are percentages of the total. So if you go to physical therapy in it's 2%, it's 2% of the total contracted services budget in that school. Yeah.
Math. Right.
Yeah. I
She did say she was going to double check that for next
Yes.
time because she wasn't 100% sure. But yeah, so that's, and you'll see in there, those are the types of positions that are in that contracted services. So while we can't give you like what students are receiving what, or maybe how many, because maybe it's one or two, this tells you the positions that are in there. So to provide you some transparency of what we can provide you transparency on for special ed, you see what those contracted services include.
And for the most part, I built all of the numbers for contracted service because we have a lot of service providers that provide services in a number of different schools. And so for a number of the providers, I based it off of their current caseload, but there were some providers that it made sense to base it off of the 10-1 count just because of the movement and the what that position, the movement of kids in and out of their caseload. So, you know, a snap. Okay. Yeah. So every year on October 1st, we have to submit to the state count of our students. And we in SAU 53, sorry, I just, I knew it was going to happen. I answered the phone for the first month with the old SAU, so doing better. So we keep a spreadsheet of all of the students, what schools they are in, what programs they're in, whether they're in out of district placements. It is important to note that our charter school numbers have been gone up significantly, and that does have an impact on that contracted service line because we are required to provide our special education services in the charter schools. So we have a number of people that do go into the charter schools and provide those services, so that number has increased significantly this year.
To that, so you were saying that for the charter schools, we have contracted services that need to go to the charter schools. How is that cost different from providing the service within our school? Do we have different professionals going to the charter school? Do you see what I mean? How is the cost different as if the student was in our school? Okay.
There's a couple things. So some of the folks that Dr. Hall listed on this sheet are employees that we hire full-time, and maybe just a portion of their time is out at that charter school, and then the rest of the time they're working within our schools. Or what we'll have to do sometimes, if we don't have somebody who can cover a service, we have to contract out with a separate provider, like a private provider, to provide that service. So we have less control over those costs than when we do hire our own person to go deliver those services. So it really is a mix depending on caseload numbers, how many they can fit, the distance between the schools, because we have some kids off in charter schools down in the Seacoast, up in Middle Lakes region, down in Manchester. Like the geographic region of that is pretty substantial. It varies.
That's helpful to know. Thank you.
Another thing to note is that Three Rivers hired a SLP into so that came out, that was a contracted service last year, and it went into and a district and employee is a lot less than a contracted employee. And yep. So then if you look at the other sheet that's just a grid, I was added to what Jess did last year. She provided you a historical perspective on what our numbers look like each year. So you have the year, the total is the total number of identified students. And you can see that has gone down a little bit. The budget is the budgets that were set for last, if you were to follow the 2025, 2026, the budget is what was set last year. The line underneath it is the proposed budget for this year. We don't have the actual expenditures for this year, but we do, based on that 10-1 count, there were 13 out-of-district placements, 20 charter school placements. So you see that that number has steadily increased over the years since this data has been tracked, and we have 0 in other placements at this time. It is important to note that out-of-district placements include students that are court placed or students that are in episodes of treatment, which we are seeing an increase in that because the state now has has built a capacity for it and a system for it. So we are seeing an increase in episodes of treatment, which are not typically full year placements. That's not their intention, but we have seen a couple extended. And then at the bottom of that, I broke it out by school of the number of identified students in each school. So last year there was 75 in Hill and there's 74 this year. Last year there was 86 at TRS, 78 this year, and last year there was 71 at PA and 64 this year. Any questions? No? Okay, go ahead.
The charter school side of that, is this like a choice, or is it is a choice of the student's parent or student? Okay. All right. Thank you.
The 20 that you see on this chart only represents identified students, not all students in charter. Yep.
Help me understand what I'm misreading. Okay. Your handout, 26, 27, budget of $4.2 million, right? The sheet that Amber just went through,
I know exactly where you're
is
going.
different. Where did it go? It's different.
No.
I'm sure there's an explanation, but I just want to have it in my head.
So the special ed budget here that I'm referencing is actually just out of district and like services. So it's the contracted services, it's out of district placements, it's transportation. This is, well, no, this also includes contracted services. So it's the most costly lines in special ed. It does not include like supplies, and it doesn't include like your teacher salaries in your building. Yep.
So I think that this sheet is what is encompassing that line item.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Try and get you more information every year that helps provide clarity. And so any of this kind of feedback that is helpful for making sure that we're communicating the correct message of what we're trying to communicate is definitely helpful. So thank you.
This one pager is helpful in painting a story. Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody else? Questions, comments?
Is there anything in particular that you would like to see for the next round that you don't think is represented here, or that would be helpful?
Only question that I meant to ask it earlier, I apologize, is the McKinney-Vento. How often do we check on the status of where a student is residing? I can't remember. You had said before, and I can't remember.
So we're required to check on it every year. It's an annual requirement for us to update the status of McKinney-Vento eligible students. Once a student qualifies for McKinney-Vento status for a year, they're entitled to remain in that current school for that remainder of that year, whether they move out of housing insecurity or into it. So depending on, it doesn't matter where they're going or coming from. Once they're in it for the school year. And so you reestablish that every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. For our McKinney-Vento kiddos that are getting transportation, so that's probably our highest cost in that that area. We know like daily where these, because we know where the bus is arriving to, and if there is a family or student there anymore. So I should get updates frequently for our kiddos that are getting transportation. All right, are we moving on? Are we thinking? What are we doing? Questions? Digesting at a later date?
Here either.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any retirements yet. I think they have till December 1st. Okay. So I need to be given those. Oh wait, maybe I did put them in. Sorry, I've been working on 3 budgets all at once, so maybe they're in here. Actually, they are because of the master ed. All right. Deerfields are not in there. Yours are in here. Yours are in here. So really the only change, so the big changes I'm hoping will be a good positive change will be insurance for the next meeting. Hopefully transportation and increases and invoke tuition. Those will be the areas in which I should have some clear information for you.
Thank you very much, both of you. All right, B, we have open enrollment.
Okay, so I had posed several questions out to our legal counsel from our last meeting. He's supposed to have an update for me in the next couple days. It's taken him a while to get some research done for me. So for our next meeting, I'll have some legal counsel updates regarding open enrollment. But I did want to share, just because this falls kind of in the umbrella of open enrollment, is I shared out that survey that you guys had seen. Hopefully you've seen it posted out live and around. But the principals across all of our SAU have posted this survey out for me to get some data on just our town's industries to see what people felt was the town industry. I mean, I can guess, I can make assumptions based on what I see, but I wanted community members' feedback on what they feel their local industry is and what classes they want to see or what their kid has interested in for when they are up in high school at Pembroke Academy. So I gave you just a snapshot of what the data is looking like right now. As of this morning, we had about 150 responses. When I looked a little bit ago, we had over 100, we had like 53, so a couple more have come in. And then I believe I printed off, did I print off a second one? There should be a second page that goes with it. Yes, a grid. I didn't print a copy for myself. So I took a synopsis of the highest percentages. So anything over 30%, I captured for the top industry. So we had small businesses, large animal, livestock, construction, landscaping, automotive, homesteading, forestry, and medical and first responder were our highest percentages for what people felt the local industry was from all 5 of our towns. The top courses that families were hoping to see for their kids when they got up to PA or what kids had interested in K to 8 are first aid and CPR, electricity, driver's ed, plumbing, computer tech and repair, digital creation, small engines, and pre-vet. So I thought that was it was a good indicator, and it will give us food for thought. I mean, we're in budget season right now, and with the discussion of open enrollment and how can we better attract students and how can we better meet the needs of our kids in our communities, the community is telling us how we can better meet the needs of our kids right here. So just keep this in mind for planning purposes and be thinking about if there are things that you want to see added to the budget and potentially to our program of studies. We should be having these kind of conversations based on actual community feedback. So
I just had one thing on open enrollment. Just thinking ahead, and obviously we haven't even worked out a lot of details, but before we go too far into it, I just wanted, you probably already did this, Jess, for the principals to think about, it's probably easier at the earlier grade levels. If it did happen and say it was all 3 schools and kids could come here, like how many students could you take each grade without adding staff members? You guys probably have already done it.
we talked about it.
Okay. Without rocking the
It's like
boat.
my mind.
I know.
So we actually talked about it this morning.
Okay.
And I let them know that for our next meeting, I want numbers.
Okay.
So between now and then, I asked them to think about how many numbers per grade level they feel like they could accept without going over what they felt would be a positive impact for kids, essentially.
And our numbers that we have.
And
For
your
classroom
numbers
size-
for- yes. Yep.
And then high school's a little bit harder. So you go by like your mandatory stuff.
I'm going to let Mr. Hamilton figure that out.
It's
And he's
kinda
going to
weird.
tell me. He's looking forward to it.
How do you even figure out? All right. So you guys already thought of that. That was the only thing that prompted my mind without like thinking about staff and all that stuff. Okay. Sure.
Said in open enrollment, I remembered that there actually be 3 lines added to your budget because I have not added in an actual line in case we had to pay tuition to somebody else.
That is a requirement.
It's a requirement. And as soon as you said open enrollment, I flipped to see if I had done that because I know I've done it in some of the districts and I have not done it in PA. So I've put a note on here that there will be 3 additional lines. It'll probably be like a 0.5 because otherwise I got to renumber everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be 11.5 or whatever it might be. I will let you know when I give the budget summary update where that lies.
Okay.
And I'm just going to budget $1 for now, unless you would tell me otherwise, because we would have no idea. But we want to be able to have a line to be able to track that.
Thank you.
For our next meeting, I'll make sure to give you guys an update on where all the survey data is at before then. But I guess I'm going to put it back on the agenda so we can have a more robust conversation about it for our next meeting.
Thank you.
Yes, quick question, and I don't need an answer or anything like that. But in your report there,
Josh.
sorry, Peter can't. That's what. You had talked about the counselors going through the New Hampshire Applies process and everything like that. Do we do anything for like the trades? You know, because I mean, if you look at the responses for classes that they would like to see, that students might like to see here, and this is something that I kind of pushed a little, not mentioned a little bit early, years previously. You know, I don't want to lose students that may not be on that college track. You know, they may not be getting that support to go to be an electrician, a plumber, a carpenter, whatever the case might be, because we may be too university college oriented. So I just wanted to mention that, and if there's something that we are doing, I'd like to hear about it. If not, maybe it's something, that could be looked into in the future. So. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'll move on to C, which is just a special meeting. I just wanted to mention that I had another meeting this week. It looks like Thursday, January 8th, January 15th is the snow date, 6:00. Mr. Coughlin was awesome and already booked the cafeteria and the auditorium for us. I'm working out a few more details for this SAU-wide special meeting that includes all the board members together and the administration and all of our town's representatives. Soon as we have the details together, we will send out invitations to the reps of all the towns. And then I will create an Eventbrite. So when we push it to the public, we will at least get an email and get a head count. But we had about 82 responses from just the survey of what days and times worked for you. So there seems to be an interest in this. And that's about all I have. We just got to work out some more details before, so we can invite our representatives appropriately and just work out a few more details. And then hopefully by the next couple of weeks, that will be running. So it's a Thursday, January 8th at 6:00. And then a snow day to the 15th. And the idea, it's not all worked out yet. You do? Yeah.
That's because it's
Do you
not
have
in
them
this
every
bill-
Thursday? They do?
on Thursdays.
Okay.
Yeah. Every
Well,
Thursday.
we haven't. I'll email you, Josh. The other highest day was Mondays. What's Mondays in Pembroke? Anything? The other one was Mondays
I don't know about Pembroke.
Yeah, you just
other
know NBC.
districts, but yeah.
Was NBC on Thursday, January 8th.
Okay.
Yes, that's where I will be.
So let me see if we can, don't worry about the dates. We were just trying to figure out some dates in January, and then I'll work with Josh and we'll make it happen. But the idea, there's a lot of details to be worked out, but the idea would be the representative and the school board member and the administration, whoever wanted to come, would have some small group chat in the cafeteria to talk about public education at large, while the public is invited of all those 5 towns to sit in the auditorium. The small group conversations will lead to the conversations that the public will have comment and questions and opportunity to weigh in. Pull off.
Mondays do look like your best bet for all the districts.
I know.
So, Jean, we have the year planned out. Well, yeah, she's crazy brain over there.
So I will send those emails tomorrow, and it's okay. It's in the very planning stages, but I want to wrap it up in the next 10 days so that we can create links and push that out everywhere. So that was the only update I had on that. And also Carrie's going to help me, and so is the Deerfield chair is going to help coordinate this. D, we have school care.
Hi. This is just an idea based on my reading of various publicly available questions and statements from members of the public about what is and is not being done around the school care bill that we have. I realize that claims of transparency are unfounded because everything that we do is widely available to anybody who wants to find it, but it strikes me that the board might want to consider a special piece of communication that explains exactly the decisions we made a couple of meetings back about how to cover and when to cover the extra expenses that we have incurred. There appears to be at least not misinformation, but just sort of an absence, a vacuum of information. Some of that's willful, probably on the part of anybody who just wants to spout off about it. But I think that we need to be able to have something specific we can point to that we have pushed out directly to the community to explain what our thought process is and what we're actually doing here.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a good idea.
I don't know what that needs to look like, but I
I
think
don't-
this group needs to think hard about that.
Can probably create some message and then give that to Melanie to share with you guys and then you guys can feel free to post that.
We
Is
could
that
put it on the
okay?
new roof?
Put it on the new roof?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
We actually should be advertising on that. I don't know why we're not, you know. And sorry, go ahead. Did you have something else to say about that? And the other thing, Melanie and I talked briefly about, finding a way to advocate to, whether it's our representatives or anybody else in Concord, to try to, and somehow at least investigate, which is Jane's kind of thing, or intervene to try to provide some kind of relief. And one of the thoughts that I came forward with was to have some sort of open letter that other affected districts and other affected townspeople could sort of sign on to, almost not so quite a change petition, but something in that realm that would specifically target our state government to try to rectify this as a one-time relief, at least for various districts. So I don't know what people's thoughts are on that, but
There was an email from the Lebanon School District. I saw some of the New Hampshire School Board Association delegate members were on there regarding school care. I don't know if that was.
No, but I just heard about that because there's a meeting on Friday and someone's attending, but I don't think I saw it though.
Okay, I can forward it to you, but it sounds like there's Lebanon School District was trying to spearhead something like that.
okay. Something
Yeah.
that other people that
Yes.
sign on to it.
Correct.
That's great. My only thing here is this is one of those get caught trying moments.
Yep.
Because I feel like we're getting stuck with a bill that we're just paying, and it doesn't feel like we're putting up any kind of a fight. And I don't like to do that performatively. I want to do that with the intent of actually trying to get some kind of change out of it. But if we don't try, it looks like we are in some ways okay with this, and we are definitely not okay with it. So
Agreed. And there is an initiative, I believe, out there to also get them, or the state to agree to not allow them to assess the interest if you
Yep,
don't pay
I
it
did see that.
by January. So I know there's talks out there in regards to that as well.
I just forwarded you that email, Ken, so you'll be able to see that.
I think like Jess, if you could help us do something that we could get out there so that it doesn't look like everything that Ken just said. There's also a lot out there too that they don't understand. Like if the employee pays, say it's 15% and the school district only pays 85%. Well, why didn't we hit all our employees for the 15%? Why does this? So there's a lot out there.
Well, so my plan was just to create a message on how you guys came to your decision, what you decide,
How we're going to pay it.
how are you going to pay it, and then just so people do have that. Even though we've spent several board meetings talking
I know.
about that are public, I will put a little neat package on it that you can send
Okay.
out.
And I did post all the school care stuff that we got, the question and answer, all that stuff is on there. That's what I've been answering everything with. So. Thank you. Anything else, Ken? No. All right. 7 policies. I know.
We have a lot of groundwork. Okay. I added a first reading policy on here, and I wouldn't normally do this in this kind of order, but we're required to make an update to our homeless children and unaccompanied youth policy in order to meet the requirements for our grants. And that had to be on the docket no later than this board meeting. So to start those conversations, so you don't have to take action on that tonight, but we do have to be in the process of updating that. And that's to meet some of the federal grant requirements for the grants that we receive.
Just my quick read on this, and jump in, Sharon, with your stuff. The one where I think if you would take some time before the next meeting, for the third reading on some of these, is the student conduct policy. It is significantly different because ours has not been updated for quite some time. And it's a probably, it could be a long conversation, whether what they're proposing fits for us. And I would certainly want our, principals to weigh in on that as well, because I want to make sure we do something that's consistent with what they think works in their buildings. But it would be a significant increase in the policy itself, just in terms of verbiage, if nothing else. So I want to make sure that it hits the right marks. As far as anything else goes, from my perspective, I mean, these are ready to move on to a third read, but that's the one I wanted to just highlight for a close read. Yeah.
Because I had questions myself about the implementation of the MTSS-B programming that is now being embedded into this policy. I don't know generally what is the timeline of how we're implementing this and which schools will be implementing them. And so I think as a board should hear a bit more information about how the district is planning that launch and embedded in that program into the schools before we approve a policy that states that.
Yeah, funny thing is, it's actually been a requirement for the last few years. So we've already been doing it. So, but we're in the middle of reworking it. So to better meet kids' needs.
Mm-hmm.
So we were required to have MTSSB systems in place a while ago. But we have some behavior coaches that we're working with right now that are helping us revamp those and make sure that they are working for our school's needs and our students' needs. And so we're going to be in the process of redoing that and making it more livable. And so I'll have some updates. And I think there's actually 2 other policies on here that, I definitely would ask, principals take a look at too, because it does impact kind of your actions, and then get feedback to me and I can bring it back to the board. Is policy DN, equipment and supply sales. And so that includes getting rid of equipment that you no longer need or your teachers don't think they need, like textbooks and things like that. And then supervision of students. And that pertains to, how staff are supervising students and what the requirements are there. DN.
So Jess, just to go back to the student conduct policy with the MTSS-B, I know it was endorsed by the legislature, but so we embedded it in our district policy prior to this time.
So it didn't live in policy, but it's living in practice. So we're required to have an MTSSB system, which is basically an intervention system for behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So we have intervention systems for academics, and those have been longstanding. We've had those. We're also supposed to have intervention systems for behavior that follow that kind of tiered approach to student behavior. And so that we already have those things in existence. So I think it would be important to make sure that whatever we put in policy aligns with the practice, like you're saying, of where we want to go and what would be in the best interest of our kids.
Great.
Amber, there's a crowdfunding policy on here too that you may want to take a look at, the DFGA.
I notice we don't have one. Is this another one of those where we have practices but not policies?
I'm not sure about practices, not policies, but I think, in the day and age of there's a lot of like GoFundMe's out there.
Right.
And what's the other one that's common for teachers?
Yeah.
What is it? Donors choose. Like those kind of things are supposed to be grounded in policy, and we just don't have policy that dictates how and when it would be appropriate for teachers and admin to use those.
Mm.
So, and if we do, we need to make sure, right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what I worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you just saying like you can't say, this is what we want you to give us? That's what I kind of.
We don't have anything that dictates what we should do, which is the problem.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and the policy that the school board association has put forth talks about, how we would approach that, whether if the district was going to support any type of crowdfunding, how it would go through the principal first and through the superintendent next. So I agreed with all of that policy suggestion. My only concern was that there was a suggestion that the superintendent create a list of approved sites. Is that something that we have in mind, or that we would? To me, that just sounds like more work for you for no reason, when, we know what.
I think you could have a list, but it's going to be irrelevant in 6 months.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because
Thank
there's
you.
always something new coming up. And so I'm not sure that would be.
I think when I looked at the policy, that was the one thing that I thought we should probably strike. But overall, the policy itself was.
They could be, there could be language added in there, say that, whatever the site is, it must be vetted by school administration and or the superintendent.
And I think that's pretty much in the policy. It's worded in there. So that was my only.
And there could be some great reasons for us to be crowdfunding if we have a special project that we want to do, that we do want to go out and fundraise for and solicit donations in the future. That might come in handy for if we have a big project that we want to undertake, instead of always going directly to budgetary requests. So, it could come to our benefit at some point.
For money, that creates an issue later on down the road, like with what's in the building as to possession.
No.
If an individual versus.
We would treat it much like a donation account. So when we receive a donation and for specific things, we create a specific fund for that, so that we take in whatever revenue has been received from that donation or contribution, and we expend out of that same fund. It also allows for that to be revolving, meaning it will roll until it's expended, so that it's not merged in with operating dollars, because otherwise at the end of the year, those will go back, whatever's left is going to go back to offset taxes. So it would be a separate fund. That way we can track exactly what's in there and exactly what's expended. Kind of like a student activity. We do have, Pembroke does have donation accounts that we track separately as well.
Donors. Yeah. Yep.
So that would probably be wise to delineate in that crowdfunding policy. If it's materials that are being donated, who is the owner of that material? And then that would also link in the potentially, if we're saying this, that becomes property of the school district, if we're saying that, then you'd want to also refer to policy DN, which talks about when we would dispose of those materials, like the end of life of those materials.
Yeah, and the sustainability of what you've taken in. Because that's one of the things, like with grants, it's wonderful we get grant funding. But then when we purchase certain things, what's the sustainability of keeping that going? Does it now become an operational cost? So those are things you want to worry about for future.
So is that what you guys are suggesting? That those policies just move?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think we move everything forward.
Okay.
For further
And then
consideration.
all of us look at those that you start. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions, comments on those? All right. Number 8, we have public comments. Anybody would like to make a comment?
Yeah, Pete Mehegan from down the street. Just a couple of comments. It's gratifying to hear that special ed is going to go down from 28% increase this year to only 14%. But we look at that the same way we look at the health source thing. That's an expense that should never be there, but that increase is happening every single year. What it means is instead of special ed doubling in 3 years, it's going to take 5 years for special ed to double. And the taxpayers still have to shrug and say, that's the best we can do. We've got to put our heads together and say, it cannot continue. It can't. And I want to say one thing that I don't believe I said the last time I was here. I found out in one of the first committee meetings that I made that Manchester has 20 students that cost the district $250,000 every year out of district. They have 10 that cost the district $1 million and 2 that cost the district $2 million. There's no cap. When there's no cap and we look and we say we need to pay it, we're actually dropping every single arm we have against this, and it's untenable. Nobody can live in a home in Pembroke. So the problem is bigger than just looking at the numbers and crunching the numbers. And you're my hero. You know that. I've said that. But we've got to put our heads together, Jess, and we've got to say 28%, that's too high. 14% can't happen. We can't double our special ed expenditures every single 5 years. That's me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Still here to answer.
Okay. Anybody else before I move on? No. All right. With that, then we have the need to go into non-public. Oh, wait. First, I'm going to say that the next school board meeting is Tuesday, November 18th here in the library at 6:30 p.m. And we do have the need to go into non-public under NHRSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, under A, B, and C. Vote to go into non-public at 8. Let's say 39, 37. Sharon? Jean? I'm a yes. Carrie?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Thank you.